Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we have to tackle a solo queue jungle tier list. Now, I have never done the solo queue jungle tier list with my expanded tier list, so the A plus, B plus, but we're going to dive into it and we're going to do our best. So let's go ahead and do it. Dragonite. He's at the top of my list, S plus, or S pick. I think that it's simple. Dragonite, honestly, in my opinion, this is literally my opinion. I don't actually think the character's that great, but I think that Dragon Dance Hyper Beam is broken. And with the objective secure that this character brings, it's a really good option. Like, ult spamming on this character is great for buddy barriers. You can use that with a score shield. You can focus band. You can scope lens if you want to do more damage, like an AD carry. Like, it doesn't actually matter what you build on this character. You're going to get good value out of the ultimate. You're going to get good fights with this character. And then ultimately, the reason why this character is so good is because of Dragon Dance Hyper Beam. And when you play solo queue, you can secure a ton of Rotoms, a ton of Dreadnoughts, and a ton of Zapdos or Articunos with this. So it just is that good. Serena, I'm not gonna lie, I'm also gonna put her S tier. I actually have a few S tier picks in this solo queue tier list for jungle. This character can pop off in jungle. Like, this character pops off in team fights, hard wins 2v, 1v2s, 1v3s, 1v4 sometimes, but you want to be ahead. And Serena in lane is like okay, but Serena in jungle can really carry games. You don't have crazy objective secure. That's the big problem with this character. I guess the problem with this character. But the character feels really, really good. Yeah, I don't know what more to say. I don't know what to say. Sylveon. Okay, so I'm gonna preemptively put this in like B tier. There's really not much of a reason to be jungling Sylveon, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It's really not. Mystical Fire jungling with Sylveon is actually not that bad, but there's not really a great reason to pick it. There's just way better jungle picks. But while you can jungle Sylveon, I don't know. Probably shouldn't be doing it. I'm going to leave it here. This might jump further down. Again, I don't know exactly my structure just yet because I've never done it on the expanded list, but we'll figure it out. D tier will probably be characters that I recommend you don't jungle at all. Yeah, like you just don't jungle at all. Mamoswine. So here's the thing. Do I separate these, I think Mamoswine's another one. It's like B tier is probably going to be characters that you can jungle fine, but there's really no reason to do it. That said, do I need to pull apart junglers? No, I'm just going to go ahead and put this here. It's like, there's really no reason to do it. I don't think. It's like, you can get away with it. Maybe someday we'll have like a jungle meta that is good for tanks if they ever equalize experience. I think that's the main reason why you can't really jungle tanks in this game, is because jungle's just too important. Like rushing level 9 on Mamoswine's not a real thing that matters. So you would just rather put anyone there that can actually use the experience in a strong way. Ninetales. I gotta say, maybe C will be my there's just no reason to play it tier, because I don't know if I need this many tiers. But Ninetales, like, it's not like it's much worse than Sylveon jungle, but there's really just no reason to pick this character, in my opinion. Ninetales doesn't do great in solo queue in lane anyways, and I guess jungle would be, it's fine, like you can get away with it, but Ninetales' strength is early laning, so this is like one of those picks where I think we're putting it C tier, because C tier is most likely there's just no reason to put it, to pick it, to be completely honest. For solo queue jungle, I think that the only reason I'm not putting Talonflame S tier is because you have picks like Serena and Dragonite. It's A plus tier. It's probably considered S tier in some people's minds for solo queue. I think it's totally fine. It has crazy objective secure, but the problem with objective secure with Talon is that you don't have a lot of the objective burn. Like, you have to sit there and auto attack it and flame charge it and hit it really hard to get it in fly range. Whereas Dragonite can be like poking, get it low, and then just shred it. Like, he does all of it, where Talonflame kind of feels like he's got like a part of it down, So Talonflame's steal is really good, but his actual just solo objective burn, and like if there's pressure, is not quite as good. Not quite as good. All right, Slowbro. Same thing. It's like, it's a tank. I just don't think there's a reason to play it. Some of these are still going to be better picks. I don't know. I might have to restructure this a little bit, but probably not. There really is just so many reasons that you wouldn't play these characters. In a past life, maybe I would put some of these tanks in higher tiers. I think I've done that before, for a jungle tier list, because honestly, I like jungling tanks. I think it's like decent, but it's like there's really just no reason to pick it. But I think that there are characters that are truly like just don't do it. There's just better picks, but I do think that tanks make decent junglers. They just don't make the best junglers, and there's still just like no reason to pick it. A lot of the time, there's just way too many good picks. Mime's the same way. I think that's what B tier is right now. B tier is the like you can actually play them. It would bring you value to play him in this jungle, but there's just no reason to. C is the like just don't do it, right? Just really don't do it. Lucario. Lucario is honestly a B tier or an A tier jungler. The reason why Lucario is not higher is because the character is just strong in lane, so it makes no sense to pick Lucario in jungle really. But coming out of jungle with power up punch or an extreme speed is actually really good, so it's really not a bad pick. It just there's way better choices when it comes to jungle. So there you have it. Greninja, listen, this is solo queue. I know this is probably a random hot take, dude. Greninja is the reason why I win games. Like, I don't know how else to put it. If it wasn't for Greninja and solo queue, I literally wouldn't be able to carry as many games as I do. This character has so much potential. It does crazy damage. If you're running it with Surf, you have good objective steal. It's got a good ultimate. It's got good self-sustain with its mobility. Like, it's a really, really good pick. Not gonna lie. All right, Gengar for solo queue. You know, you can't put it too high, but you can't put it too low. It's just, when you think about the potential that the character has, like its actual ceiling, it's lower than some other characters. But for solo queue, it's really not that bad. This could be like a B plus pick or an A pick. It would never be higher than that, but I think I'm comfortable putting it here because like there's a reason to pick this in solo queue, because you can just nuke with it and be annoying and be good with it. But there's always better options, in my opinion. There's always better options, in my opinion. Gardevoir. She's somewhere in here for sure. Probably A plus because the character's good. The problem with Gardevoir is the same problem I think I'll always probably have with Gardevoir. She's just an SP attacker that doesn't have a ton of self-sufficiency. So you still need good teammates, but the damage and the setup and the Unite moves you can do is still crazy. I think Gardevoir still sits really, really high because the character is just good. The character is just good. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, she's really good. So you can bring a ton of damage to the table. You can have great setup ult. You can get level 9 before first dread. You're really in a good position. And then you can influence the end of the game insanely strong. Garchomp. Honestly, this is a really hard one for me, because a part of me feels like putting Garchomp in the literally just don't play it tier, but it's not quite that useless. It's just I actually think the character is like that bad. You can still win games with it. So like, maybe it just ties with the B tier. Like, yeah, it's fine, but I wouldn't recommend playing it. Or maybe I should put it in B plus tier. Is this better? Like, the crazy thing is like, I don't actually know if I would rather have a Garchomp jungle over just having like a tank jungler. That sounds crazy to me, right? But I don't actually think that this makes me feel any more confident than having one of these. So I think I'm just going to put it in the B tier. Like, you could play it in jungle, but I really just prefer you not. And I don't think you're going to get that much value out of it. And yeah, so it can jungle. It can do okay in jungle, but you probably shouldn't play it in jungle. Eldegoss, you know, honestly, Eldegoss is a good enough character that jungling Eldegoss probably isn't the worst thing in the world, but I really do think that this is a matter of sentiment more than literal nature. Just don't do it. There's really no reason to jungle Eldegoss. There's way too many other picks, and Eldegoss is way too good in lane. So I guess in solo queue, like, yeah, maybe it's okay. You could probably, honestly, Eldegoss jungle is literally probably like right here. Like, it's probably going to bring you more value than a lot of these other picks. But the reality is that there's just really no reason to play it, I don't think. So I just can't recommend picking it. Just don't pick Eldegoss jungle. It's not great. Rustle jungle. You know, I could put him here, but I don't actually even see the value in that. Crustal's good in lane. Crustal's, like, I mean, it's okay in lane. I don't really see the value of jungling Crustal almost at all, even to the point of putting it in this B tier. I think Crustal might be one of those junglers that I just say, like, I don't really see it. Like, could you do it? Sure. Can you X scissor jungle? Sure, you could. But the character doesn't really bring that much value. You have to think about late game scaling when it comes to picking a jungler too. There's just so many characters, and like, especially just defenders in general, that just really shouldn't be jungling. Yeah, I can't say that I'm a huge fan of the idea of Crustal Jungle. So I'm going to probably put it in the just don't do it tier. I'm trying to be a little bit more literal. I think in the past when I've done jungle tier lists, I was a little bit more loose with just like, yeah, anything can jungle. And I don't really know if that's like a good way of looking at it. Greedent. Greedent honestly is kind of the same way. Like you can jungle it and it would get you some good value, but Greedent's so good in lane and it's a defender and you don't really need to jungle it. So it's going to hit this random B tier of like, there's just so many things that you can jungle and get value out of, but you probably shouldn't. Cramorant, I just wouldn't jungle it. You can air slash dive an AD build or something. You can air slash dive a build and jungle it, but there's really just no reason. There's really no reason. All right, let's talk about Cinderace. Cinderace is easy an A+ tier pick. Some people would probably put this S tier pick. I personally feel like Greninja at like slightly shoves Cinderace in the solo queue department, because there's just so much solo carry potential where Cinder can just get really fed and solo carry really hard. But I want to make a slight distinction here. I genuinely think that Greninja's insane for solo queue. I think that Cinderace can be insane for solo queue, but I personally, this is a personal preference here. They could both be up here together. Cinder could be up here, you could be down here. It doesn't really matter. But I personally feel like Greninja just takes the lead here. Really, really insane damage. Self-sufficient, great mobility, an insane stealing ultimate. Like it's hard to go wrong there. Blastoise, same thing. It's another tank that honestly, you know, I feel like tank jungles aren't that bad. It's the level thing, man. If the lanes got similar experience, tank jungles wouldn't even be that bad. It's just the fact that like the jungle experience is so sacred to getting someone ahead that you kind of have to do it. Solo queue, man, I'm not gonna lie. I think that Absol is an A+ pick in solo queue. It's just that good, in my opinion. It's not S tier. In solo queue, I don't even feel like Talon's that much more valuable than Absol. I definitely don't feel a lot of the times that Cinder or Gardevoir are much more valuable than Absol. I think Absol shreds in solo queue. It's so easy to get an advantage and stay ahead because of Absol. And if you don't, it sucks and you don't scale super well. So some of these other characters have more benefits. Like I think all three of these characters scale into late game better than Absol, kind of to a degree. But you have carry potential, like hard carry potential with Absol. As for Charizard, Charizard's honestly fine. Like it's a good jungler, it can get ahead and do some crazy things. But when you don't get ahead on Absol, or on Charizard rather, it's tough. You're behind, you're not really doing that much damage. You go in your Unite move, everybody's buddy barriered. It's just like, oh my god, dude. I just don't know. Like, when you're behind his Charizard, it feels bad. But the character can jungle really well, can bring a lot to the table. Pikachu. You know, Pikachu's got to be another one of these, right? Like, it's like, you can jungle it. It's just so good in lane. And you're not really going to jungle it over a lot of other picks. You know, it's crazy as that is. And the only reason Gengar takes a position up here is because Gengar can hard carry a solo queue game. I don't think it's better than these B tier picks. I really don't. I would probably rather have one of these B tier picks instead of a Gengar on my team. But as far as solo queue goes, team composition and like optimizing team comps doesn't matter as much. So like when it comes to jungle, it's just not that great of a pick. Not that great of a pick. Now, Venusaur, on the other hand, I think is much better in jungle than a lot of other like SP attackers that you see in lane. I can't quite put it. I don't know. It's weird. This is a weird spot to be in because it's better than this, but you just don't. It's the same thing, right? Like it's a good jungler. It's better than that. Now that I think about it, it's a good jungler, but there's not really a lot of reasons to pick Venusaur jungle. But relatively speaking, I think that it's probably better in jungle than Charizard maybe is, just because you're getting Venusaur ahead. You don't really see a ton of Venusaur jungles, though, but I think that that's more of a perception-based thing than anything. Like, you can play Venusaur jungle. It's fine. It's really good, actually. It might be A+ tier pick, but I think it's because of the fact that it's decent in lane and there are better picks, I'm going to shove it down to A. Like, strength-wise, it would probably do fine here, but I think that A is the place that I'm going to sit it because there's just better options. Like, I would probably rather, in a lot of situations, play at least 4 or 5 other picks over Venusaur in jungle. But Venusaur jungle is great. Like, if you're playing that, no issues whatsoever. No issues whatsoever. Zeraora. Oh, gosh. Zeraora is a weird one right now. The character's bugged, or it isn't bugged. Maybe you're supposed to be playing Spark Wild Charge or Discharge. The character gets its Unite move at 10, so, like, it's, like, less valuable. I don't know what to think about this character right now, man. It's like, the character's still great, don't get me wrong, but there's just better options. You don't get your Unite move at 9. I don't think that this character does that much more damage than like anyone else that it warrants picking the character, but it's fine, right? Like, it's a solid pick. Anybody that's still playing it should know that it's like a pretty solid pick, but I just don't see it being super high tier valuable. Yeah, it's weird. All right, Wiggly Jungle. It's the same thing, dude. My B tier is basically the you can pull it off, but why kind of tier. Like, you could pull it off, but why? Snorlax Jungle, honestly, if you're flail-laxing, you can pull it off, but why? Like, there's really no reason. Machamp is gonna hit the A tier, I think. Probably. It's like fine to jungle, but there's just better options. That's pretty much what the entire A tier is. Like, Lucario's a fine jungler, but you should just lane it because there's better options. Charizard can only jungle, but it's not that great. It's pretty solid. Venusaur is a really good laner, but is just, you know, might as well pick that for lane and pick a better jungler option. Zeraora is really good, but scales lower, like slower than everybody now, and I don't think it's super great. Like, it's not the best pick in the world anymore. It's better than a lot of these picks, don't get me wrong. Zeraora in the A tier is probably the best. I don't really order them left to right, but Zeraora in this A tier is probably the highest of the A tier. And then Machamp is just like Charizard. You can't really lane in, and there's better picks, but you can jungle it just fine. You're going to do well with it. You're going to do well with it. Decidueye. I actually think Decidueye find its place in the A tier as well, because the character can shred. The problem with Decidueye in jungle is that it has no self-sufficiency. Like, if you look at the tier list of ADCs, in my mind, I have it like based on mobility and self-sufficiency. Like, Greninja has a lot of control where it's moving, where it's positioning, how it plays. Cinderace is like a little less than, but has really good range and can shred. And the Decidueye is like, I just nuke things, but I have no self-sufficiency. For solo queue, that's tough. That's really tough. And then Blissey, honestly, Blissey is there's just no reason to pick it. So this is a weird tier list. Honestly, B+ tier. I didn't use D tier because there's just way too many for this kind of a tier list, I feel like. But yeah, this is a weird tier list. It's just weird. The B tier is just like, C tier, there really is, I feel like, no reason to jungle those picks almost at all. Never, like never. Like, there's always something better, or they're better in lane. Eldegoss is like the one that stands out. Like, yeah, sure, I could probably put Eldegoss jungle in B+ tier next to Gengar, but like, why? Why? B tier is like, all of those characters can jungle, but there's just no reason to pick them over anyone else. Flail-lax jungle, Wiggly jungle, Pika, all the tanks, basically. Like, you can get value out of them jungling, but there's always something better to pick. There's way something better to pick. Gengar is Gengar. He's just low tier because it's not great, but it's still solid for solo queue. Like, it's okay for solo queue. And then A tier is just like, there's good value there, but there's always something better. A+ tier is like, you're really solid with these picks. S tier is just like, these characters hard carry games. They hard carry games. So there you have it. That's my solo queue jungle tier list. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. I would definitely love to hear it. Hopefully I explained these well. Let me know what you think. And as always, be sure to be kind to one another. Tell someone that you love them. And I'll see you on the next video.